With over 500,000 trees and shrubs already planted and growing, it's easy to forget you are in the city. We don't just say, we do. It's the Stain City way.
Good afternoon and welcome to Real Talk with me, Anele Mdoda. So this guy was born on a major day for the country, June 16. He was named the man of the match the very first time he played for the Springboks after coming on in the 5th minute of the game as an injury replacement. He has since done phenomenally well, currently as the first black African captain of the Stormers, and talk in the rugby corridors has him fingered as the next probable Springbok captain. Siya Kolisi is here today to talk rugby, love and life, and not in that order. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
I like the way you asked, are we going to speak Xhosa or English?
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
You just want to,
yeah, I got to build myself
you're
up.
be like, okay, which brain is operating?
100%.
Xhosa, and then English, if you talk like this, say, oh.
Yeah, you got to chill, you know.
Hey, bro, hey?
Yeah, you got to
How's it going, eh?
Go in Cape Town, you know.
Go in Cape Town there, eh? Yeah. I'm picking up what you're putting down, eh?
Yeah.
Listen, so I was laughing my head off.
Yes.
The one time you fall asleep in class and the teacher asks you, why are you sleeping?
Yeah.
Because, you know, this is your future, this is your education. And
Yes.
you're like, it doesn't matter, I'm going to play for the Springboks.
100%. Actually, it was accounting. I still remember. I wasn't good at accounting, and I was getting 12%. So I said, you know what? You got allowed to fail one subject. Okay. So I said, you know what? I'm going to sacrifice here. I told him I will sleep, do other homework, or do whatever I want, but I won't interrupt your class. He's like, why? I was like, I'm going to play rugby one day. And then I made my Springbok debut, and they called me. And they said, I remember you telling me you'll be a rugby player, and I'm proud of you. Well done.
But now you need an accountant, though.
100%.
And
I do.
at least you hire somebody who didn't get
Yes,
12%.
100%.
We can only hope.
Yeah, we can't be good at it.
I know, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So where did this love of rugby start? Because I know you from PE, and I know that, you know, you were in Zwide side, which is a township. So where does the love for rugby start?
Actually, my whole family played rugby. My dad, his father, it's all started from them. So when I grew up, I tried soccer. It didn't work out. But then I played rugby. You didn't need much skill for rugby. You just have to be aggressive. So I started playing it, and I got hurt a bit, and I enjoyed it since I was playing since I was 7 years old. Yeah, so I started playing in the township, and it took me away from a lot of things.
This is true.
Yeah,
this is true.
Because a lot of my friends passed on, and they were on drugs. But I actually went to training every day after school. So that's how I got away from everything.
So one of the most beautiful stories I know about you is the day you did your debut for the Springboks. You know, the people from your township, Zwide and PE, were calling you and singing the songs that they used to sing in the taverns when they were supporting you when you were playing in Zwide. So how do you go from, you know, playing in the township and then making it to Grey High?
Yeah, I actually met a teacher called Eric Songwi Mawawa Kosembiza. I played against his school, and we lost 50-0. I was playing in a different school, and then he said he saw something in me.
After you guys lost 50-0?
I'm like, dude, come on. And he said, you know what, just come to my school the next year. But I left in the middle of the year without telling anyone. I just went to his school, rocked up at his gate, and I think it's probably the best decision I've ever made in my life, because he took me to EP trials. I made the EP under 12B team, and then there were scouts there, and they scouted me there to go to Grey. And then from then on, I played rugby.
When I say alma mater, what does that mean?
My alma mater, old school.
Alma mater, is that Grey PE?
Yeah, that's Grey PE.
And I understand your little brother's going there now. How excited are you?
I'm so happy, you know. It's, for me, like, the school has done so much to me. That's where I think my life changed. That's where I started dreaming big, you know. And being in the township, I didn't have a lot. There's no equipment and all that kind of stuff. There's no real good, there's support and stuff, that's all you have. And then I got to Grey. You have everything, all the facilities and everything. So, and it's always been a dream for me, for my brother to go to a proper school where he can actually be whatever he wanted to be.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And wasn't it a little bit tough? Because, you know, a lot of, you know, kids that I speak to who are in sports, it's all about the support of your parents,
Yeah,
you know.
100%.
And your dad, the first time he was actually physically at a game to watch you was when you'd gone professional. So you didn't have that parental support.
Yeah.
Was that not difficult for you?
I didn't have it from the township, so I wasn't used to it, you know. So it wasn't something that obviously I would have loved to have him there,
Okay.
but I make friends as long as my mates and my teammates are there. I was cool with it, but now it's a bit different because I would love to be at my brother's games. It doesn't matter what team is playing because I know what that kind of support does for someone. So I want to make sure for my little one and my brother and sister that I can be there as much as I can.
Speaking of support, and I think you're very big on that, be it you're supporting your teammates, be it you like the perfect talent for what you do because you are a fan of other rugby talent.
100%.
I listened to you talk about the first time you were at a game and Skalkberger ran into the field and you said it was like a movie. You were like, people were just making a noise. You were like, yeah man, this is a movie.
Yeah.
And you wanted that feeling for yourselves.
100%.
Tell me about the day where you saw Skalk.
First off, I met Skalk when I was in grade 8.
Yeah.
We were standing in lines and the Springbok bus pulled in because they were playing in PE.
Goosebumps.
Yeah. And then the bus came in. I was like, oh my goodness. And they came out and they were so big. We left the lines while the teacher was talking, took out my hymn book and we started asking for signatures. And I don't know why, but someone captured this picture of me and Skalk.
That picture made the rounds,
Yes,
actually.
100%.
Oh, I'm so bleak we don't have it. Yeah, that picture made the rounds.
And he had all that hair. And I had no hair then. I think they're all swapped now. I've got all the hair and he's got nothing. Yeah, so then I got to play with him. And that first time, he just came from the World Cup or Springbok duty. And I was playing and I was having such a good season.
Which World Cup? Was it the one in England?
No, the one before.
The one before that?
Yeah, the one before that.
I think France.
It was in France. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I think it was in France. Yeah. So they came out. He came on from the bench, and I'd never heard Newlands so loud in my life. So I just stood. From that moment on, I became a fan. I just stopped playing. I was just going through the motions, just watching him. He just, his aura, everything he does. And he came on, and he like broke someone's hand. First tackle he made, and I just looked. I'm like, "What is happening right now?"
What a beast!
And also from then on, but then I got used to it. Then I got used to him, and he's very chill. He made me feel comfortable.
Yeah. And I know you hold Jean de Villiers in high regard as well. Like I think when it comes to role models, that's your dude.
That's my guy. Yeah, him and Skalk, not only on the field, off the field as well.
Yeah.
I like the way he supports us youngsters and he brings us in. And he's very funny, but when it's time to work, it's time to work. And how he supports his family and is always there with his family. That's what I appreciate the most. That's the stuff that I look up to him for.
And when do you feel the most pressure when it comes to rugby? Because I mean, you came in and then you had an injury, so then you were kind of in a slump, and then out of nowhere you came back and you were just like more of a beast than before. And this is why, I mean, you've possibly having the best time of your life and the best
100%.
form of your life right now as the captain of the Stormers. And those rumors that we're looking at you as the next Springbok captain. Like, when do you feel the most pressure when it comes to rugby?
I'm a very chill person, so I put pressure. I like putting pressure from for myself. I don't read a lot of what's happening on the outside world, right? So I always try to make sure I'm happy inside, so I can focus on playing. So my family must be happy. My wife must definitely be happy at home.
Happy wife, happy life.
100%. Yeah. So when I'm happy, when family is good at home, and my teammates are happy, and I've done my work and I'm prepared, then I think I'm at my best. That's when I can perform the most, and I do my work as much as I can during the week. Then I feel prepared from Thursday, and I'm playing on Saturday. Then I know I'm good to go.
And right before you run on the field, is there like a little thing you say to yourself, like a ritual, a memory you go back to?
I pray. Obviously, I listen to music. Then I'll pray by myself, then with my teammates. And then I normally sing with my two Xhosa brothers in the team. Yeah, so it's a little more Gwijonyana in the changing room. Yeah.
When you're listening to music, what's your pump-up song?
I normally First, I would have Beyonce. I would have all the.
Stop talking. You said Beyonce. That's what I wanted to hear. Nothing else.
Yeah.
Beyonce, and we're done. Listen, we're gonna take a quick break, but stay tuned because on the other side, the love part of the story will be revealed. Come back to us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, we're talking love, family, and standing up for it all right here on Real Talk with Siya Kolisi, who is now joined by his wife, Rachel, who, I knew you were like good looking. I just didn't realize you were this pretty. Like, I've seen you on TV and like on his Instagram post, I'm like, oh, what a pretty girl. Now I'm like, you better pay more cows. did you pay Lobola? Rachel, man. Rachel.
Still coming.
I think my dad asked for like 1 cow.
And it could have come like in steaks. Just like, if you just send through steaks every week, we'll all be happy. What's the first thing he said to you?
Hey.
Really?
On Facebook.
Yeah.
On Facebook.
Oh, you went down in the
DM.
DMs.
Yeah.
And look now.
My response was literally like, don't hate me in my inbox, please.
It
Okay.
was awkward.
And
Then I didn't know what to say.
because you know what it is. And now this story makes sense to me because I was like, rugby players, okay, like they're aggressive on the field and it's everything there. But when it's time for them to like,
Weak.
weak, like it's like, you're like, Tina, and
The freezer. Don't hate me. I was like, okay, where do I go from here?
and where did you go from there?
I kept on trying. I kept on SMSing her. Then we met up once and we became friends. We became very good friends for a while. But then, yeah, you know, that got too close.
You were just like,
Yeah.
I am not going to be friend zoned any longer.
Yeah. I broke those chains so quickly. I broke those chains. But
Rachel,
still,
you grew up in Grahamstown, am I correct in saying
Yeah.
that? And you were quite sporty yourself.
Yeah.
What sports did you play?
Loved sport. I was very into like hockey, squash, tennis, athletics,
water polo.
water polo.
Water polo.
Yeah.
All right. So when this hay comes, do you know who's haying you? The guy that plays rugby, or is it just?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We met at a dinner with like mutual friends, and
But we didn't
my
speak.
brother made like a big deal about it. He was like, "Don't you know who he is? Like this big rugby player." I was like, "Oh, that's really cool. Like that's great." But no, don't really care much. I actually thought he was quite rude that night because he didn't really greet anyone. And then
She was sitting at the end of the table. I couldn't stand up and go all the way.
gentlemen
say
go
hello.
and they like greet everyone and stuff.
No.
And
Were you eyeing her from across the table?
I didn't see it, to be quite honest. She was far. I only saw it at the end of the evening when we were leaving. So we didn't even say a word to each other that night until I had to say goodbye.
Okay, but then when you said goodbye, were you like, hello?
Then we got on Instagram. I mean on
Facebook.
Facebook, yeah.
Then from then on, I took charge.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So you were aware of who he was in a way. You're like, okay. Do you now have to support the teams that he plays for, or are you allowed to say, support the Lions or the Bull?
No, I wouldn't do that. And I've always been like I've always been a rugby fan anyway. So I always enjoyed it. My dad played and my brother plays a lot as well. But I was always a Stormers fan anyway, so it kind of worked out well.
When he finally moved across, you're like,
Yeah.
yes, quiet victory. And
Amazing.
when you told your brother that you guys were dating, was he like, finally?
So Siya actually and my brother are very close, and Siya actually told my brother first that he really liked me and stuff. And he used to come to me with stories like, do you know what you need in your life? So it's like, what do I need, Siya? This is when we were like really good friends.
Yeah.
He was like, you need a boy from the township that's going to love you and be solid. And I literally would look at him and be like, what is he saying? Like, where does he come
Just
from?
hints, man. He's hinting.
You were not hinting. That was like flat out. Like, oh, who else do I know?
I don't know how to tell you, hey, I like you. So I had to just plant seeds.
You need a guy from the township, and you should have said, well, that's great. Can you introduce me to
I
one?
literally did. I told him, I was like, oh, do you know some? And he's like, me. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Well.
Okay, and there it was. But apparently, and I don't want you to tell us the story. I always like hears from women. Apparently, his proposal was quite romantic.
So romantic.
Tell her.
And I was never into, I always hated like boyfriends and stuff bringing me flowers or chocolates and that sort of stuff. Like, and I always thought it was a bit awkward. Or like if they sang a song, I was just like,
What am I supposed to do whilst you're strumming away at that guitar?
like, do you cry or you like, oh.
Do you nod? Do you twirl your hair?
So I was like, I wasn't sure. So Siya actually whipped out all the cards for our proposal. For my proposal, he took me on a helicopter, but like he said, like pack a bag in the morning, because we had an argument like a few weeks before saying who could plan the best date day. So I knew like a date day was coming, and he said, okay, pack a bag. So I was like, okay, cool. But he didn't tell me anything. He brought me like flowers, made me breakfast in bed, and then took me on a helicopter. But you know, everyone was really nice the whole day. So everywhere we went, they were like, hi. Hello. I was like, shame, maybe they're really excited that like that is
Yes, yeah.
And then and then he proposed on the helicopter. But like 10 minutes into the ride, he was like, this is so crap. He's like, take me down. I hate this. He's
the
like,
worst thing I've ever
because
done.
obviously a helicopter and airplane are very like different.
Yes, because the
And
helicopter.
we'd both never been on a helicopter before. Oh my word, he hated it so much. And I was like, shame, this poor guy.
But isn't a helicopter like loud and you have to have headphones? And
Yeah.
how does she hear your proposal?
I was breaking up as well. So he grabs my hand, but he's all sweaty. Like his hand is like sweating. And I'm like, what's wrong with you?
It's tough time.
And he's like shaking my arm. But I'm looking out here and he's like shaking my arm. So I like look at him and he's like, I have something I want to tell you. So I was like, I can't hear you. This thing is not working. So he's like digging in his pocket and he pulls out like a 10 rand in a box. So I was like, cool, maybe it's a little like sweet opportunity.
Okay.
And then I realized, oh shucks, he's actually proposing. And then and then he was trying to talk. I told him like take the thing off because I actually can't hear what you're saying. And then but you don't hear because you're freaking out like I'm getting engaged and stuff anyway. So yeah, and then he took me like to this hotel for the night and stuff, and it was amazing.
When the helicopter lands, do you grab your phone and like call your friends like, I'm getting married?
No, we didn't even. I was still like so shocked, and I'm like, oh, like amazing. So yeah, we tried to take some pictures, but they were terrible. You know, like helicopter in the wind just
Everything is hazy.
Yeah.
It's
doesn't
like,
work out
it's
well.
okay, babe. The memories,
Yeah.
the memories.
We got
of
like
that.
champagne everywhere we went, so everyone was like, oh, here's a bottle of champagne, and I can drink like 2 glasses, and I'm like
Out.
borderline. So
Okay. Really not a rugby chick. So then, would you rather have to propose again or face like New Zealand in the World Cup final?
I would face New Zealand in the World Cup final any day. Yes, definitely.
Any
100%,
day.
Yeah.
Can I take it as you telling us now that this is what's going to happen? This is in our near future. You will take us to the final where we will face New Zealand and you will win for us.
yes,
Yes.
game.
Yes,
Yes.
100%, 100%. Yeah. I
What-
believe it.
Yeah. What's he like before a game? Like, when do you notice that, like, oh, okay, like,
The
it's
night
big?
before, I know, like, feed him and let him go to sleep and leave him. Like, just let him do his thing. Because, like, I think a lot happens in their heads and stuff, like a lot of preparing and that sort of thing. So the next day, I don't mention the game. I just act like it's a whole nother day, and then I'll just say, like, won't even say good luck or anything like that. I just kiss him, say love you, bye.
And
See
then
you
it's
later.
gone. And do you watch it at the stadium? Do you want to watch it on TV?
If it's at home, I watch it at the stadium. So now that our son is a bit older, we try like get him to go as well, and the kids enjoy it. So I always try to get to the stadium just to be there, because so he knows like someone's there afterwards, just in case. And
I just know with sports people, when they like someone, they don't really want them to watch them, be it on TV or even at the stadium. Did you ever go through that where you didn't want to?
No, I always wanted it.
You always wanted to be
Yes,
watching?
I always wanted to be
Oh,
watching.
you guys.
I even wave.
yeah, I get kisses. All the other wives and girlfriends are like, shucks, like we never get that. They'll be like waving, and always after like a try or something, you'll be like,
That one's for
like,
you,
no,
baby.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take that. Thank you.
It's too much. It's too much. Real talk is about real issues and real people. We would love to hear your voices. We now have a WhatsApp line. 072 445 5835, where you can send us your 20-second. Please don't make it long. 20-second voice notes telling us what you think about the show, anything that keeps you up awake at night. You can wake up at 3 in the morning and just like, hey, Anele, and start talking to us. We'll be playing some of these voice notes in the show as the days go by. So send. We want to hear all of it. This is Real Talk on SABC 3. Stay with us. And welcome back to Real Talk right here on SABC 3, where the stage is yours. Today we're chatting to the lovely Rachel and Siya Kolisi, who besides having a beautiful story about their love, they've also been victims of malice because of their love. Now, you used to being told nonsense because you're in the public eye. Sometimes you do a knock on and then we get upset. And then you know what? You do a knock on, I'm going to go on my turn and be like, yeah, Kolisi. Typical. You know? So you kind of assume that. Now, she's not used to that. Is that something that you had to get used to very quickly?
Do you know, I was actually thinking about it the other day. The first, somebody asked me in one of the interviews, has someone ever said something to you in public? And I was like, no, no one ever has. But the one time we were out when we were first dating, and this lady asked me if I was a prostitute.
Oh.
Because I was out with Siya and all of his friends, and she's like, you don't have to do this for a living. I was like, do what? She's like, be a prostitute. I was like, I'm not a prostitute.
But if I was, I'd be charging a lot. that's where my mind is going.
So, yeah, I think I had to get used to it, but a lot of it is can be quite amusing. So I think it's how you want to look at it yourself, the perspective you give on it. So if you're going to look at it like it's horrific and tearing your life down and the
Then
worst
all
thing
it's
in the
going
world,
to
then
be.
yes, it is going to mess with your head. But if you look at it like, shame, you poor people, then you're going to be fine.
It's like, I'm happy this side.
Yeah, life is just fine for us. We're great. So, I mean...
So is there anybody in your families that you kind of had to convince of the other person? Like, you know, was your family immediately accepting of Rachel, and was your family immediately accepting of Siya? Your brother,
there
obviously.
Were a few in the older generation side of my family. They maybe struggled with it a bit, but they respected my choice and my judgment, and they wanted somebody that loved me and respected me. So why would you want someone you love to be with someone that abuses or disrespects or cheats or does stuff like that? To rather, you always want the person that you love to be with someone that, you know, loves and respects them, you know? So at the end of the day, that's what it came down to for them. And they adore him. I don't think I've met a person actually that Siya's met that has been like, oh, what a crappy person. He's so annoying. Siya's just a lovable human being. So.
And, you know, you actually you said something so profound that if your family raised you to be a level-headed, amazing human being who can make decisions for herself, you know, that's what they wanted from you even before you met Siya. So why does it change now all of a sudden?
Absolutely.
You raised me to make up my own mind, and now my mind is made. So what is the issue?
Absolutely.
I like that. I hope people live with that today.
Yeah.
And your family was like, gang ho, let's go.
Bring her.
Yes, Makoti.
Because she came, when I came out of the bush, she came and she was cooking and everything. They dressed it up like we were married.
They were so impressed I could cut an onion. I was like, guys, don't worry, I can even cook a chicken.
Step back. This is just a preview. So when all that social media hate was going on, and I remember I was like, you know what, I'm not going to read this thread because I don't want to make myself angry. And then, you know, my friends kept on saying, no, man, this is rubbish. And my colleagues at work and everyone, they're like, no. So I was like, let me read it. So initially, I was like, annoyed, and then I went to where you were. I was like, yeah, but this guy's probably sitting in still by there, you know. You know what I'm saying? Okuruman, and life's not great for him. And, you know, he's just upset. Who told you guys about that post, that malicious post that was making the rounds?
We were actually lying in bed the one night, and it was like 9 or 10 o'clock, and one of Siya's friends sent it to you.
Someone, no, it wasn't a friend, it's just a person who just tagged it. And it had been going on for weeks.
Yes, I saw it. It was like thousands of comments.
But we only saw it after.
After it had already become like a big
then there
thing.
were other interracial couples from all over the world posting pictures for support. So we only saw it at the end of that stage, and then I read it. I found it quite funny.
Sometimes we read the comments and we're like, how do people come
this
up
stuff.
with this stuff? They're protecting white jeans.
They must stay on their side and we must stay on our side.
What a waste of a gene.
Yes, I remember I read that one. What a waste of good genes. And I was just like, you know, like what is, I'm just so confused. And also for me, because there's certain things that, you know, we amalgamated and we got to know each other as blacks and white people. But I just felt like there's certain things you do where you kind of exempt from like the racial slur. You're like, guys, if I worked at the rock station, I think I'm pretty much one of you. You can't be racist towards me.
100%.
So for you, I was like, he plays rugby. Like, he wins games for you. What more do you want? Did you not feel that a little about guys, these guys? I played the sport that means the most to them.
Yeah, but one guy said you're stealing. What did he say? You're stealing our sport. Now you're stealing our woman. Yeah. That made her very furious.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to calm it down, relax.
Because you usually don't reply, but you replied.
She replies.
I don't reply to them, but I always try to think of something a little bit sarcastic that everyone can be like, oh, so it's not like so serious. So I'll never be like, you can't speak to people like this, blah, blah, blah. Like I always try to put a little like sarcastic tip on it. But I do think it's something that should be exposed and spoken about. Like, and we are not the only people dealing with it. It's just that we are given a platform where it can be exposed a little bit and spoken about, and it is something that should be, because there's a lot of people that have to deal with it, but if they were to tweet it or something, they'll probably get like 1 or 2 retweets. Nobody cares.
This is true.
So the amount of like messages that we got from other people saying like, thank you so much for like saying something and doing something, and I was like, guys, like,
it's weird.
It's crazy.
Mostly Afrikaans girls that are dating black guys, and they say
all, like,
we can't
hidden
come out.
and-
Oh, shame.
Yeah,
So
we
like,
can't come out.
you know, it's all like covert and they
Yeah.
can't talk about it, and finally
But it comes to a point where I like say to them like, okay, if you love this person, you've got to start making some decisions. Like you can't be sitting like fearful of your love forever. So like
you're running a help center there.
I literally responded to every single person that inboxed me, every single person, and I got like thousands of messages.
I'm thinking of like an acronym, so we could start something here. White girls for black guys. Like, you know, you could run like, you know, you've got a helpline and they call, hello, the Sarki here.
But there's some that I'm just like, girl, you are hopeless. She's like, oh, my family's supporting me and I've got children, but I want to be with this man and stuff. I'm like, okay, let's look at priorities here. If you're studying or you have kids, that's your priority as a woman.
Yeah.
That's your priority, not your man. No matter what color, what race. No. It's like your priority is your education and your kids. So for some of them, it's maybe a bit of a reality thing, but you just got to be honest.
I just want to be your friend, because you just, right? Isn't she just like, so like, you know? And now I can see how easy it was for you to adopt his siblings.
Yeah.
And just they're your kids. You
Yeah.
raise them as if they were your own.
Absolutely. Like it wasn't even a question, and I'm not about to come into this position of loving this man and then saying, and I would expect exactly the same thing. If I found 2 siblings I didn't know about and they came into my life, I would expect him to accept them and be like, yeah, let's raise them. I'm not about to stand here and be like, oh, sorry, a 12-year-old and 9-year-old, we're not going to take you. No.
So you are a mother of 3.
I am a mother of 3.
Are we going to be a mother of 4?
Yes, one day.
Okie dokie. Listen, if you allow him, you'll be giving birth to an entire rugby team.
That was my plan. Okay, I really wanted 6 kids, and then I had 1, and then we got the other 2, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, we love like a big family, but like, you know, high school starts coming, and then you think about university.
And then he
so
loses his
financially,
blazer.
you've got to be like,
And then he loses his space case and his
School
lunchbox.
shoes.
And you're like, you will go to school barefoot if you lose another pair of shoes.
I make them go to school.
Okay, 30 seconds left before you go. What's your guys' song? Because I know like everyone is googie gaga of you. Now we just want to know what your song is.
Adon,
Okay,
Miguel.
Adon.
Which one?
Adon.
Adon.
Adon Miguel.
Yeah.
Let me, what?
Yes.
Baby, these lips
Go, babe. This is your
can't
time.
wait to taste your skin.
Again. Ooh, baby. Oh, let my love.
Let my love.
Every Xhosa man loves that song. Siya and Rachel, thank you so much for joining us. I don't know what we'll be talking about next when you come back, but I know you'll be back. Maybe when you win the Rugby World Cup for us. Coming up after the break, I'll be joined by writer, filmmaker, playwright, critic, and sub-editor Neil Sonnekus. He's got a new compelling book recently published. So for all the bookworms like myself, you want to come back for this. You guys are amazing. And welcome back. So we've been celebrating love despite the in and the odds with it with Siya and Siya Kolisi. Now on the couch with me is Neil Sonnekus, author, is it Son or Son?
Son.
Okay, author of Son, a novel described as a fearless rendering of our times that deserves to be widely read and celebrated. Please welcome onto Real Talk, Neil. Thank you so much. And I understand you're sick.
Yes, I've got a bit of flu.
Is it like change of seasons? Because that's what happens to me.
No, I think it's the long flight from Auckland to Doha and then down to Johannesburg after that.
So you do live in New Zealand?
I do, yes.
Oh, why did you leave us?
That's a very long story.
Really?
And it's not just
It's
that.
a very long story like this one, yeah?
Yeah, well, that's not such a long story,
Yeah.
but you know, you don't do things for one particular reason. There's a whole set of reasons why you do something, whether you stay or go, or in life generally, not so?
The funniest line in this book I read was, you said you'd gone to visit a girlfriend, I think, in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
And this was just after, just as Mugabe was new as the rain. And you were like, you know, and the white people were still pretty happy with him. Yeah. Tell me about that time, because I just want to remember a time when people were happy with him.
Well, you know, I got a lift with at the beginning when I got into Zimbabwe. This is 1981.
Yeah.
I got in and I got a lift with a farmer, and he said, I'm very happy with Mr. Mugabe. But then when I was on my way out, I mean, it was so nice being in Zimbabwe, you know, out of South Africa, 80s South Africa.
Yeah.
That feeling of freedom was so good, I couldn't handle it. I had to get back home, back to my chains. And but then I got a lift with a city engineer from Bulawayo. And
Back into South Africa?
No, still in Zim,
Yeah.
but heading towards the border. And he said, this country is in serious, serious trouble. Bulawayo's power supply is virtually finished. Okay. So those were the two
like
opposing
the juxtaposing things that you were told.
Yeah, but the people on the ground, like here, were fantastic.
So growing up this side, as a kid, did you always know that you want to follow, like, I don't want to say creative, because to me it looks like you like the intellect side of creative, you know what I'm saying? You're the writer and, you know, the script writer and you know what I'm saying? You like the higher echelon. So did you always know that's what you want to do?
Well, from a fairly early age, I don't know about the intellectual part, dreamer part, perhaps,
Dreamer,
but
okay.
yeah, more a dreamer than a deep thinker, I think.
And what's the process of the words finally ending up on paper? Do they sit in your head for a while, or do as you think them, you put them onto paper?
Well, it's also different, but you know, I like writing in the mornings, like most people, I think. And you know, you try to write just, if you can do 2 to 4 hours every morning. And sometimes you've just got to sit there and nothing's going to come, and sometimes too much comes, and it's crazy. It's crazy.
I find people who write a lot and are authors grew up in houses where there were always books, where it was normal to read, and that was entertainment. How was it for you growing up in your household?
There were books, but you know, there was Reader's Digest, there was the Bible, there was romances.
Mills and Boons.
No, never that. Actually, there were. And then there was Sex Manners for Men. And, you know, for a 14 or 16-year-old boy, it was wild.
It was like, ooh, guys, you call your friends over.
Yeah, no, but, yeah, it's one of them.
So, Len, in the book, who's Len based on?
I suppose he's a fictional version of myself.
Okay.
You know? Because my father's portrayed as real, and he's portrayed as a fabrication. I just did that for various reasons, but it's really autobiographical, I suppose.
It is, right?
Yeah.
And so when you say based on various...
Sorry.
No, it's fine. You're sick. What must you do?
Yeah.
So when you say it's based on like various versions of yourself, which part did you have to keep in about yourself when you were portraying Len?
Well, I suppose all the fantasies, the dreams, you know, this guy's got quite an imagination when it comes to certain matters.
Sexual?
among
I was
others.
trying to say certain and sexual came out because I was trying to figure out in my head how we're going to get to the sexual part of this book. But now that we're here,
there.
I mean, you
We're
know, you
there.
forced me.
Yeah.
I really wasn't going to go, but now that you pulled me in there. For instance, like there's a part where he really goes into like the red zone of life, you know, and he's with the lady at work, and you know, he's just on a rampage. Is that part of yourself? Is that something that happened to you?
No, that's the fantasy part. But what I wanted to, especially in the first part of the book, I wanted to show that sex is also very funny, you know.
Okay, tell me more.
Well, I mean, he tries to get this girl into bed the whole time, and she leads him up the garden path. She leads him on a wild goose chase, sexually. And you know, this is not 50 Shades of Grey.
No, it's not, because 50 Shades of Grey is very, like, it's novel.
I wouldn't know. I haven't read it.
Haven't you read it?
No.
I've read all three. You're not missing much, but I
Thanks.
mean, they're entertaining. They're entertaining, and
okay.
you love. But it's also written very badly. Don't worry about it. There's no flow for me personally. Okay, so 40 years old. This guy goes through a divorce. Did that happen to you?
No.
No. So that's also a fantasy part.
Yes.
Who fantasizes about being divorced?
Well, I wasn't fantasizing about being divorced. I was imagining what it was like being divorced. My wife might argue that I've got a bit of I'm a bit divorced from reality, but but I've never been divorced. No.
You've never been divorced.
No.
And the relationship Len has with his father, like, very strange. Like, I'll just mention one thing that I found to be strange. It kind of reminded me of Prince's wife when she said she never had his cell phone. He never wanted the wife to call him, and I was like, okay, that's strange, but you know, each to their own.
Yeah.
When Len and his dad only speak on Thursdays, did that really happen?
No. I mean, no, not quite. But I would occasionally call my father and say, "Hello, Dad," or you know, "I'm missing you," or "I'm just checking up on you." I mean, it wasn't always that well-intentioned, but you know, he was my father, and I called him on the day that he was murdered. I mean, are we going to get to that?
Yes, we're definitely going to get to that.
I called him on the day that he was murdered, and by then he was dead already. And it's because I hadn't seen him that weekend before.
Yeah.
It was a Tuesday, and I hadn't seen him that weekend, and I hadn't even called him. So you know, you feel guilty. And then those things happened. Sorry, what was the question? I got distracted.
I was asking why that like said thing that you and your dad would only like speak on Thursdays, because there was like a thing about.
Okay, because it's the end of Len's working week, and he's just calling up to say, "Are you okay?" And I'll see you on Sunday. It's just a ritual.
Yeah.
The book's full of rituals.
Okay.
You know, visiting week after week, the same little speeches, the same little jokes, like old people. He's an 89-year-old man.
Yeah.
You know, they get very repetitive.
Did you ever feel like you were calling your dad out of obligation then?
Yes, yes.
So
it wasn't always just out of, you know, pleasure and the joys of spring. Sometimes you think, I'll do it. I don't really want to, but I'll do it. There's a normal father-son relationship.
Okay, there's something you said in the book. It says, the dominant color of the rainbow has become not white, nor black, but red, blood red. You write that in the book. I'm going to have you have a think about it. We're going to go to an ad break. When we come back, you and I, we're going to unpack that, and we're going to unpack the day you lost your father.
Okay.
We'll be right back. And we're back. Don't forget our weekly competition to stand a chance of winning yourself a 5,000 Rands e-gift voucher. Details are on the screen. I'm still with writer Neil Sonnekus in studio chatting about his riveting novel, Son. And before the break, I'd asked him about this line that he wrote in the book. The dominant color of the rainbow has become not white, nor black, but red, blood red. Tell me about that. It's very deep.
It's what?
Very deep.
Well, it's very primal, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you know, it's just a simple view, and that is that 50 murders are committed a day in this country. And when I was writing it, when I started writing it, it was 2009, 2010, And I thought I'll write this as a record of that time, because surely by the time this book is written
It will be
and
better.
out, it will be better. Mugabe will not be in power anymore.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing's changed, and the murders are still happening.
Yeah.
Are you comfortable to talk about the day your dad was murdered?
Depends.
On?
You know, he was murdered on a particular day. We don't know who the killer or killers were. So what else is there to talk about the day he was murdered? Well, I mean, I got a call to say that he'd been murdered, and that was obviously very...
And this was after you tried to call him a few times, I suppose?
No, I called him once.
Yeah.
And then I called my brother to go and check on him.
Okay.
And then much later that day, my brother called back and he said he's been murdered.
Okay. And you say you don't know why he was murdered. You know, they could have just taken what they were taking and left him as is. Do you think that you're a little bit, and justifiably so, like, do you still harbor a lot of anger over that? A lot of, like, you know, unsettlement, you know, unfinished, unsolved, unresolved? That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. You know, again, these things are never simple. Even the simplest so-called, a murder that is supposedly so simple, there are always complications. You know, am I angry? Yes, I am angry. But this was a very, very difficult old man who would not put up palisades. He would not have security gates. He had security gates which I could break with my hands. He had a little dachshund. A little dachshund's not going to protect you against 3 killers coming onto your property. So I had to, at one stage I actually thought, well, you know, if you are going to be so stubborn, if you're not going to go into an old age home, then you must take the consequences of that. Of course, I don't know if that was a good decision, but I thought that. I thought that.
Is the final chapter dedicated to him?
The whole book is dedicated to him. Look at the beginning.
Okay.
It says to Rudolf Henry
Okay,
Sonnekus.
but I just think specifically in the last chapter, there's like a bit of therapeutic, I don't know, like healing from your side, where you're speaking about it, but in more of a relaxed manner. Am I making up stuff?
No, not quite. But what it's really is about that last chapter, and I'm not giving anything away.
Don't, because they must buy
I'm
the
not
book.
going to say. But we all have to say goodbye.
Ah.
That's what he's doing. He's saying goodbye.
Okay.
And, you know, saying goodbye to somebody you've known and loved for 52 years is not easy. Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so. Very much so.
Ngiyabonga.
When you write did you write this with maybe the intention that one day it'll become a movie?
Well, I first of all wrote it as a book because I didn't want it to become a film script that ends up in a trash can. So I thought, let me rather write the book.
Which means that, you know, it's
a record. It's there.
It's published. You can't take it away.
Yeah, yeah. Which is difficult enough in itself, getting something published. And then, because I come from a cinematic background, I made 3 short films.
Yes.
I couldn't help thinking, this might not make a bad film.
What's the difference in writing for you when you write a book and when you're writing a script?
Well, heaven and hell. Writing a script is heaven, and writing a novel is hell.
Okay, why is writing a script heaven when it might end up in a trash can somewhere?
Because it's so much easier, writing a film script. Yeah, much easier. Okay, I did it for much longer.
Yes.
But writing a novel is very, very difficult. I hope to get better at it, though.
So you're planning on writing another one?
Yeah, it's on the way.
On the way already?
Yeah.
And who's the person who has to read your work before the rest of the world can see it? Besides your publishing company to see if you're going to make the money or not, but just like your person that you bounce off.
Sorry. There's no fixed person, but after a while you learn that certain people you can trust, and you go to them and they tell you what they think. And, you know, when I was much younger, I used to make the mistake of saying, I know best and nobody knows anything, and
That's
blah,
a
blah,
mistake,
blah.
yeah.
Big mistake,
Yeah.
you know, because it's a sign of insecurity.
As much as I know you're proud of your books, I just feel like you're more relaxed and happy about your film work. So which of your films that you have written do you wish you could just erase it and have the pleasure of writing it all again?
Oh, all of them.
Really?
You know, you want to always rewrite
No,
something.
don't be like, they're all my favorite children and, you know, I don't have favorites. You must have one that you know,
Is the worst.
not the worst, but is the closest to you?
Oh, the last one I made, the one I made in New Zealand, I made with Sean Taylor, who's a South African actor.
Yeah.
And it's a South African Kiwi story, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I thought you meant which is the worst one.
No.
No,
I'm just saying that, you know, when, you know, with musicians, when you ask them, you know, which is their favorite album, they'll always say it's the most recent one. And you're just like, yes, but you're saying that because it's the one that's currently for sale.
Okay.
I want from you, like the biggest pound of flesh that left your body for that specific script. Which one was it? Which one do you hold dearest to your heart?
No, definitely the last one, but also because the first two were made under such duress. You know, I had no funds, I had to ask favors and that, and I got really tense about it. Whereas this last one, I'd learned a couple of tricks, you know, and Sean is a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
And the Kiwi guy, who was in a very well-known Kiwi film, was very good. And I had a fantastic young Kiwi crew who were very, very good. So it's a South African, New Zealand. I was trying to cross barriers. And I was even using Kiwi music and South African music. I used a South African composer called Marcus Wyatt, who plays the most wonderful trumpet.
Do you not fear that you won't get South African support because you're one of the ones that left?
I don't care.
I love your honesty.
I really
It's
don't
refreshing.
care. People who want to read my book can read it, and those who don't want to don't have to.
And when, okay, books, yes, but then when it comes to your films as well, because I mean, you know, I like the fact that there's this Kiwi South African, you know, bi-nation thing that's going on here.
Yeah.
But do you not fear that, like, it won't land on South Africans because it's not, like, it's of somebody who left?
I'm beyond that. I'm really beyond that. You know, I've just got a story to tell, and the rest is not up to me.
And you can hear it if you hear it, and you cannot if you're not.
That's right.
Quickly before we say goodbye, because you know I like touching on your dad. What lessons did your dad teach? What one lesson did your dad teach you that, as much as you may have had your ups and your downs with him, but you know that that one has to stay with you forever?
I'll tell you two quick ones. The one is that he was a very simple man, but he always taught me by example, because he couldn't verbalize it.
Okay.
He taught me that sometimes if somebody else is right, admit it, acknowledge it. The other thing he taught me, have we got time? Quickly,
Yes, quickly.
very quickly.
Sharp
He
me.
taught me that old people can also change.
Old people can also change, and if somebody's right, you got to tell them that they're right. Thank you so much to Neil Sonnekus. That's all the time we have for today. A big thank you to Rachel and Siya Kolisi, who joined us earlier on the show. But do yourself a favor. Listen, Refreshingly Honest is all I can say about this book. You have to go and get it. It's Neil's book. It's available at your nearest bookstore. Join me again, same time and place tomorrow for another exciting episode where ahead of Mother's Day, my sister will be joining me. Timisa's in the house. Have yourselves a wonderful evening.